provide loans and grants to governments, to international organizations, and sometimes to NGOs. We support government strategies that are aimed particularly in rural development. We do believe very strongly that rural populations have the potential and that they're oftentimes marginalized by policies, by governments. And we do this through providing, as I said, loans and grants to support rural community development projects, most of it into agriculture and agricultural productivity. But going beyond just supporting production, we also provide them with financial services, and we build their capacities to be able to run their own institutions, particularly to empower women in their communities, and we link them to markets. Now, you can imagine the impact of that, particularly in developing countries where smallholder farmers, where farmers are mostly women, and they do most of the work from planting to harvesting and to marketing, transporting the produce to the markets. It's important to recognize that investment in smallholder agriculture in rural communities is the most assured safety net for economic growth. It's important to note that agricultural productivity by itself is not sufficient to lift people out of poverty. They must have access to markets. And here we're referring to local markets, competitive markets, not necessarily into international markets. And we do this all in the framework of helping governments themselves to improve the livelihoods of rural populations. For a long time, agriculture was neglected. In fact, there was a sharp decline in investment in agriculture, both by the international community and by national governments. So the biggest challenge was, how do we reverse this process? Unfortunately, we needed a food crisis. We needed a food price crisis of 2007 and 2008, which was a wake-up call that the disinvestment in agriculture over the last 25 to 35 years was actually detrimental for food security. And this has now culminated, as you know, in the G-8 declaration, the L'Aquila Food Security Initiative. Food security priorities of the Canadian government focuses on smallholder agriculture, focuses on women and youth, and which actually converges with what FIDA is doing. Je dois remercier l'État canadien pour la contribution pour les 8e reconstitution de FIDA, qui avait 75 millions de dollars canadiens, qui fait plus de deux fois le financement de 7e reconstitution de FIDA. Et ces financements nous permettent d'augmenter nos programmes et les projets au niveau des pays membres, surtout en Afrique, où nous dépensons environ la moitié de notre financement de projets et de programmes. Our projection is in the next cycle, the replenishment cycle, with the increase in our resources, thanks to the Canadian government and other members who have been very generous to us, we'll be able to reach another 70 million people, rural people across the world.